this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban lifestyle and jungle survival. Today, we are going to have a look at two knives. They're basically the same knife, but they have different blade material, and that's the Morakniv Garberg. And I'm going to share with you 5 things people get wrong with the Morakniv Garberg stainless and carbon steel versions. At the end of the video, I'll also show various different sheath systems that you can create for this knife. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. You can even join as a channel member. Thanks a lot. So the Garberg is a very popular knife. Morakniv came out with the stainless version first, and then they followed it up with the carbon version, probably due to popular demand. Now, there are many videos on YouTube where you can find reviews of each of these individual knives, but also comparing them. However, I've noticed there are about 5 different things people often get wrong when it comes to these knives and comparing them. I've seen them in videos themselves, but I also see a lot of them in the comments for these videos. So I thought I'll address these 5 misconceptions or misunderstandings, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, let's talk about the first thing. The first thing is people say that the stainless version has better edge retention than the carbon version. That means it holds its edge longer. You do not need to sharpen it as often as the carbon. Now, that is actually false. The carbon, which is Morakniv's version of 1095 steel, actually is harder and has better edge retention than the stainless steel, which is 14C28N. So by the composition, as well as by people's tests, definitely the carbon has a better edge retention than the stainless, assuming you're doing similar tasks over the same amount of period. Misconception number 2, the carbon is easier to sharpen than the stainless. And again, that is not true because the carbon, as mentioned, is harder than the stainless steel. Therefore, the carbon will be also more difficult to sharpen. Maybe more difficult is not the exact word, but it will take a longer time for you to sharpen this to a keener edge than it would for the stainless steel. The third misconception is that the carbon version is a tougher knife than the stainless steel, so it would not bend or chip or break as easily as the stainless steel. That again is not true because the 1095 equivalent is a harder steel, so it's a bit more brittle. This one, being softer, will be tougher, so while it may not hold its edge as well as the carbon, it definitely will not chip or break as easily. Having said that, if you use the knife correctly in the way it's intended and you're not in a survival situation where you have to do something really drastic, there's no reason your knife should break. The fourth misconception is that the stainless steel version cannot throw sparks from a ferro rod. Now that is not true because both of these knives have 90-degree spines, and the fact that it's carbon doesn't affect the ability for the knife to throw sparks. So both can throw sparks. The question is, can one throw sparks more than the other? Well, let's do a little field test. As you saw in the simple field test, both knives could throw sparks easily, and when it came to starting a fire, both could easily do that as well. If you got the right tinder and kindling, you can light them with one spark. So regardless whether stainless steel or carbon, you can equally get a good amount of sparks. The fifth and final misconception is that if you're doing food prep, you have to use the stainless steel version. Now, that is somewhat true, but it depends what your rationale is. Some people think you should not use the carbon blade to cut food because it can change the flavor of food. And there is some truth to that if it's a new blade, because carbon is very reactive and it can react to acidic foods. However, the Morakniv carbon actually comes with a coating, so it's completely black. Now in this version you can see this part has actually been sharpened off, so it's actually been taken off in terms of the black, and then it's been stropped as well. But when you first get it, it's got a black coating, so you're likely not going to have that acidic reaction, maybe on that keen fine edge. However, if the thought process is that food can get your blade wet, and if you don't dry it properly, over time it can create rust, and if you use a carbon blade that rusts and you don't clean it properly and use it to food prep, then it's possible that some of that rust transfers to the food. And I think that's a reasonable explanation. And I personally think in general, if you are doing food prep, you should go with the stainless steel over the carbon, but more from a hygiene and safety point of view. I hope that clears up the 5 common things people get wrong with the Morakniv Garberg stainless and carbon. Now, if I got anything wrong, please do let me know in the comments below as well. So which is the Morakniv Garberg for you, the stainless steel or the carbon? It really depends on certain factors, the environment you're in, the activities you engage in, and also the duration you're out in the field in. So personally for me, due to the activities I do, I think there's a negligible difference between the two. Either will work for me. So I'd opt for the one that's easier to maintain in my tropical jungle environment, and that'll be the stainless steel, because it will not rust so easily and it'll be much easier to maintain. So that would be my personal preference. In terms of edge retention, I don't think that's such a big deal, and honestly, if I'm out longer and I do need to maintain the edge, then I'll just bring out a knife sharpening stone like the Morakniv DC4. So it's a small enough stone, but you've got the diamond coating on one side, you've got ceramic on the other side, and the leather cover can also be used as a strop. So that's easy enough to maintain, and if you're out in the field for a long time, you have lots of time on your hand, you can easily touch up your knife, whether it's carbon or stainless steel. So those are my thoughts on which of these versions of the Garberg to get, but do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Which one do you own? Which you think is better for your environment and needs? To end this video, let's have a look at some of the sheath systems that you can create with this knife. Let's talk about the standard system first, and that's the standard plastic sheath that you get. Comes with a belt loop like that. It fits in snugly, it will not fall out. You can put this on your belt, on your pack, and it is very serviceable. There's also a drainage hole, which I always like when sheaths come with drainage holes if this gets wet. Now you can have certain upgrades to it. For example, you can buy the multi-mount system, which is this. So this is basically a mounting system where you can put the Morakniv in a sheath into, lock it in place, and then you can attach this to your pack through a molly system. You can even use cable ties if you want. So many ways to attach the knife. Now, so this can just go in here. That locks into place. You have to take out the belt loop first. And there's actually another component where you would loop this over. And I'll show that to you over here with the other sheath. So here we have that sheath. Now this sheath has the molly mount system, and that's the additional flap. And it also has an additional, now this is different from the molly mount. This is an additional survival kit which comes with a ferro rod and a knife sharpener that basically can fit over here. You lock that in place, and this loop would go through over here, so they come around when the knife is sheathed inside. So this is that multi-mount system. Now, if you do not want a plastic sheath, you prefer maybe a leather sheath, you can get a synthetic leather sheath standard from Morakniv. However, I found that you can take a sheath from Joker Knives, which is a Spanish brand of knives. They make beautiful thick leather sheaths available in brown and black, and you can see this just fits in very snugly, and that's a perfect fit. So if you want a real leather sheath of great quality, I'd highly recommend the Joker sheaths with the Morakniv Garberg. For my own Garberg, I wanted a Kydex sheath because that's my preference, and I got Meran Knives from Malaysia to make me a sheath. He makes wonderful sheaths. I've showcased this before. I've also got piggyback sheath for my Swiss Army knife camper and a ferro rod. But basically the sheath fits like a glove, very solid, positive lock. No way that will come out. There's a belt clip, and this is basically my belt knife, and I think this is in my opinion the best system for the Garberg if you like Kydex sheaths. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.